You're listening to the Home Staging Show podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Lin. This is a show where we talk about all things real estate, home staging, and styling your home to live and to sell. Welcome back to Season 7. This is Episode 3. Our show is brought to you by the Staging Assistant. It's more than an inventory system. Manage your leads, your proposals, your clients, and your stage houses on your desktop, tablet, or phone. With a Staging Assistant, you will know what you own, where it is, and when it's returning quickly and easily. Create your design and packing list from the comfort of your home so you can hit the ground running when you go into your warehouse. Created by stagers, specifically for stagers, is the only tool you need to manage your growing staging business. For more information, visit stagingassistant.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Season 7, Episode 3. I'm super excited to be interviewing Pam today for today's episode. Pam Christensen started staging around the same time I did, and we went through the ASP world in the beginning. And over the years, Pam has been an amazing colleague and supported us every step of the way, including with our EcoJoe products. Pam is one sharp business lady, which you will be hearing a lot about her business operations on the show today. She also had a radio show interviewing real estate professionals for many years, and she's incredibly knowledgeable about the ins and outs of the real estate business. We talk a lot today on workflow, system building, and everything about home staging inventory. How to buy, how to move, how to store, and keep track of an inventory. I'm incredibly impressed by Pam's business and the scale of operations that she has achieved. Her organization and strong business sense really show through during her interview. What I really love about Pam is that she knows her numbers extremely well. And this is very, very important. As business owners, you have to understand and check how the numbers are working in your business to determine how healthy your business is financially and also on the operational side as well. And what's the most impressive and very difficult and rare to accomplish is that she was able to create an in-house system for inventory organization and workflow management, which is now public to the world as a staging assistant. So the staging assistant is also the show sponsor this season, and it's because support like this, we have the means to keep the podcast going. So without further ado, let's start the show. I'm really excited to be able to finally interview Pam. Pam has been an amazing stager. Her business is amazing. We're going to talk about her business a little bit today. She also has a new business venture that is very much staging related, where she's incorporating all her amazing experiences running staging business into this new company. So I'm really excited to have Pam on the show today. Hi, Pam. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
So I want to get started by asking you, how did you become a home stager?
You know, that's a really good question. I ask myself that occasionally too. What happened was when I turned 50, I had kind of a little mini, what am I doing with my life breakdown, which some people will go through at that point in their lives. And I really didn't like what I was doing. I was a senior manager in IT at Boeing and some other companies, and I just went, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something that I care about, that I love, that I'm helping people. So I started kind of playing in different things, and I got into real estate investing, and this was in 2006 when 2007 is when the market crashed. And I discovered that I was not a real estate investor. However, I staged my properties, and when I staged them, I found that what some people said, you'll never be able to rent that property for what your mortgage is. Well, not only could I rent for what my mortgage was, but most of my properties rented sight unseen over the internet. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I mean, I staged them, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I got out of investing, got into staging. I took some classes, and the rest is kind of history.
That's amazing. And what is real estate market like in your market?
See, I'm in the Seattle area in the Pacific Northwest, and our market is hot. And it's predicted to continue to be hot this year. In fact, I saw something on the news this morning that we have 37% less inventory right now than we did last year. So it's definitely a seller's market. And our prices are the hardest thing, I think, in our market is for buyers to be able to get into a home, because if the home is presented well and priced right, there's a bidding war on almost every house.
That's pretty crazy. Same in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. I would say I think a lot of markets right now are experiencing similar things. It seems like economy is doing well, and people are really in the market buying and selling. Yeah,
it's not really predicted to slow down. The only thing that I think potentially could impact it is that Seattle's getting just really crowded, and so people are moving further out. And then I've also heard that interest rates are projected to go up this year, which could slow things down a bit.
Mm-hmm. And so what service do you provide your clients?
We do primarily vacant home staging and consultations. I found that when we put our inventory into an occupied property, we didn't always get it back in the condition that it was when we put it in the home. And so we've really specialized in vacant home staging. And for occupied homes, I provide a consultation service so that we walk through and with the seller and tell them everything that they need to do with the home to present it well. And then we can also help them with rearranging their own furnishings, rehanging art, light staging with their possessions, but we don't stage occupied homes.
And then what does your volume look like a year?
We stage an average of 300 homes a year. In the slow months, which right now, January, December slows down. January takes sometimes a little bit to get started. We'll stage 3 to 6 homes a week. And then in prime time, in the spring and summer, we stage 8 to 12 homes a week.
That's amazing. So how big of a team do you have?
I have 4 full-time designers, an assistant, and 4 movers. So we have 2 staging teams, and we stage anywhere from 2 to 3 homes a day.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I'm just so in awe.
It's, I look at it, and when I first started, we had one home that sold for $200,000 over asking price last year, but it wouldn't have if it wasn't staged.
Yeah. Why is that though? You said that if they couldn't get 200,000 over, it's because they staged it, right? Right. How do you know that otherwise they wouldn't have gone that price?
Well, there's lots of statistics that I could quote, statistics such as we've gone into houses that were on the market for 60 to 90 days and not sold. And those houses, once we've staged them, have sold in 5 to 7 days and for over asking price. So there's hard facts that prove staging is going to give you an extremely high return on investment. But also when you buy a house, it's not like buying a tire. It's a very emotional purchase. And when a buyer walks into a home, they have to have an emotional connection. And without staging, that connection's not going to happen. So if they go into a home, if they're looking at vacant homes, new construction, if they go to one plat where the builder has chosen not to stage, and then they go into a plat where the builder has a model home set up, 2 or 3 different models to show the different floor plans, the ones with the model home staged, those are the homes that are going to sell over the vacant homes every time.
That's very true. And so in your opinion, should the homeowners stage their homes themselves, and why or why not?
So that depends. And it's like anything. There isn't always a yes or no answer. One of the things about staging that I don't think people realize that aren't in the business is that staging isn't decorating, and it's actually more of a science as much of a science as an art. And that's how I train my new designers, is that when you walk into the home as a stager, we see the things that are going to highlight and sell the home. And we stage the home to feature those selling points. It may not be how you're going to live in the home. However, it's what you need to do to sell the home. Sellers are emotionally attached to their homes, and they're not necessarily going to see the things that a buyer would see, and because they're very used to their furnishings being in particular places, changing those furnishings is difficult for them. And that's why if they do want to use their own furnishings and stage themselves, then my recommendation is to have us come in, or have a professional come in and do a consultation and have them tell you where to put your things in order to feature your home, and what needs to come down and what needs to be put away. If it's a vacant home, my experience with sellers staging themselves is they kind of look at it almost like putting stuff into a mobile home or in an RV, you know? It's like, well, I have this stuff in the basement and I don't want to take it with me to my new home. I'm just stick it in my room and hope that the home shows well, and it just doesn't work.
I agree with that. And so if the agent or the homeowners are having difficulties to accept staging as part of their strategy of selling the home, how do you communicate the value and benefits of home staging to them?
I have very strong statistics. Now, I've been in the business for 10 years, and so I think part of the value I offer is that I have a lot of expertise and I have a lot of confidence. I know staging is going to be the right thing to do, and I can show them year after year statistics. I can show them that in 2010, for example, our average time on market was 11 days, but the average time on market in 2011 in the Seattle area was 25 days. The average time on market in year over year has reduced. Last year, our average time on market was less than 5 days, and that was for homes that were entry level as well as multi-million-dollar homes. Those statistics really speak for themselves. I also show them charts of the number of homes we've staged and the average over asking price that those homes have received. So if you have a staging investment of, say, $2,500 and you get back $25,000 more for your house and it sells in 2 days rather than 20 days, it's just a no-brainer. So I just provide facts and data.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think one of the things that is really powerful tool for stagers at any point in their career is statistics, whether it's the statistics on the market if you're new that you can quote, or actually the more powerful statistic will be your own statistics. So I think it's a really great tool, and I'm glad you mentioned it because I'm a really big fan in terms of figuring out how to communicate with clients and what's the best way to communicate with them. And personally as well, I found having statistics and also, showing them visually, because some people are more visual than others, and some people are really hard on numbers. To be able to show them in a chart or in actual statistics is a really powerful tool to convince clients to get on board.
It really is. I think that when you first start, I think the most difficult thing is the self-confidence, because I remember when I first started, and I wasn't sure if I was a good stager, I was just getting started. So I couldn't speak with the confidence that I can speak with now. So the first thing, if you're just getting started, is to just look at yourself in the mirror and believe that you are good at what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in yourself, other people, your clients, aren't going to believe in you either. And then if you don't have your own statistics, there's lots of statistics out there that you can use. The RISA website has statistics. The ASP, they have statistics. So the statistics that prove staging is a good investment and it's going to help, those statistics are available to you until you develop your own.
That's totally true. And then also National Association of Realtors, they now do a report on home staging, I think almost every year now.
Oh.
And so as a home stager, that is a really great tool for you, because what is more convincing than National Association of Realtors, right?
Right.
So that's a really credible tool to have. And you can find that on the internet very easily for free just by Googling. So that's a really great thing to put it into your marketing presentation, on your website, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so in terms of what are some of the things that new stagers should be expecting when they're first starting out in the business?
What should they be expecting?
A lot.
Yeah, I know. There's just so much. I don't know if I can speak as much to what you can be expecting as some of the fears. I think you can expect to have to take time. And you can't, I think some people expect that once they put out there, they put up a website or put some flyers together and say, hey, I'm now going to be a stager, that the phone's just going to start ringing. I wish that happened. That would be nice. But don't give up. One of the things is to expect it to take some time, expect to have successes and failures. Not everybody's going to love everything that you do, and don't get crushed when somebody doesn't love something that you've done. And that's really hard. You know, like I said, we stage an average of 300 homes a year and that's been over the past 3 to 5 years. And yet, out of those 300 homes, 298 of them everybody loves, but 2 of them they'll say, well, that wasn't what we wanted, or you didn't, I don't like this couch, and it's really hard even today, as many years as I've been in business, to not be crushed by the one house that somebody didn't like. So you really need to expect to have successes and failures, and listen to your clients when something doesn't go right, and see what you can learn from that, but don't give up.
I think that's great advice. And I think it is human nature to kind of zone in on the negative stuff, because like even with doing the show, I mean, we have gotten really nice reviews from listeners, but sometimes once in a while you get somebody who does not appreciate what I do on the show. You know, they criticize the way I talk and stuff like that. And then those are things that like I think about for like a week, you know, and then I'm like, okay, I'm over it. But, you know, those are things that as human beings, we just learn how to, I guess, to work through in a way. And like you said, you staged 200 houses a year and only 2 of them didn't like it. And a lot of times it's not personal. It's actually the people who are criticizing you. It might be some of the things in their life that they're going through, and they're taking it out on you, you know, stuff like that. Or they just did not understand, or they're not your tribe, actually. So
yeah, and you're not going to make everybody happy. One advice that I have for new people starting out is, if you're talking to a client and you feel you get a bad feeling from that person, from that client, then walk away. Don't torture yourself. To this day, I have a staging that I'll never forget. It was a client who contacted me, and I just knew that I was not the right company for this particular client. But my team they were really excited about staging the home because it was very unique and really high end. So my team said, "Oh, we can do it." So I did it. We ended up having to pull the staging because he hated it. The staging process, the man was out of the country, and he had his daughter walk around with Skype, and Skyped as we were setting things up, and he would yell at me over Skype as we were staging. And I swear I left that house thinking, I'm going to close the company. I'm never going to do this again. But my gut told me before I even took the job, don't do this. So always listen to your gut. If you don't think you're the right person, don't be afraid to walk away from that client. There's tons of other clients out there that will love you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say like running your business is a bit like dating, you know? If you don't get this client, it's fine. Prince Charming maybe just be around the corner.
Yeah.
It's you, like, you can't, a lot of things I think people don't understand, especially people who just got into business, which is completely normal, but you're not going to be able to be everything for everyone. And there are a lot of factors why they did not like your staging, or a lot of it is not very subjective, because like we said earlier with home staging, is that a lot of sellers made the mistakes thinking that it's about them, but it's actually about the buyers.
Exactly.
So they're like, we don't like this way you're doing the house, but you're kind of like, well, we're not doing it for you, we're doing it for the buyers. And also at the end of the day, this is business, so you can't take everything personally. And what client is saying has merits. Like, say you are staging a very high-end home, but you're putting in a bunch of IKEA furniture, and so they gave you that feedback, that has merits, so you can learn from that experience. So, but the thing is, you have to calm down first to kind of separate your emotions from what is right for the project and what is not right for the project.
Right. And understand staging is subjective, and a lot of times sellers don't understand that you're not decorating. You're using, like I said, it's a science. When you stage a living room with a beautiful fireplace, you don't want to put the couch in front of the fireplace. It's going to block it, and that's the focal point of the room. But a seller may not understand that, because when they live in the home, they put their couch in front of the fireplace. That's cozy. So it's important to maintain your professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. And so what happens after someone has established themselves in the marketplace? What are some of the things that need to be looking out for?
I think once you're established, I think it's important not to get complacent. Mm-hmm. I think that it's important to try to look at things with fresh eyes. That's why I love bringing in new designers, because after you've done something for a very long time, you kind of get that I know everything kind of attitude. And so when I bring somebody in that's new, it's fun to be around the freshness, the excitement, and to remember what got me into the business to begin with, and just to see that. Also, I think it's really important to continue to market yourself and to get yourself out there, and to keep up with trends. I think once you have an established inventory, it's easy to just use everything that you already have, but you're going to get stale. Your look's going to get stale, and it's in order to stay competitive, you need to stay up with what's going on. What are the trends in the industry?
I think that's really good advice. I think one of the things of being comfortable, it's very difficult to kind of get out of your comfort zone, and then so you start getting complacent. And I do see businesses going stale, and you can kind of see it in their staging. Like, their staging will look tired.
Yes.
Just like how, I don't know if any of you have these experiences, but when you walk into homes that just went through divorce, for example, the house reflects that state. It's very chaotic. It feels very much at war. There's a lot of tension in the home, or someone just passed away. You can actually feel it.
Yes.
It's the same thing with staging. It's the same way with the work that you do. You give out these energy. I know this sounds very hippie, being a Californian saying this, but you do give off energy when you work. And so when you're very tired or you are burnt out with this business, your client is going to feel it as well. So I think it's really important to kind of look at these different things and kind of always do a really quick check-in with yourself and also with your team, just to make sure everyone is still on the same page and you're growing. And I love the advice that you give about having new blood coming in, because I think that is a really cool way. It's a really unique advice as well. You don't really hear that very often.
I think also if you're a small company or you're just getting started and you're on your own, to get exposed to that freshness without hiring employees, you can go to local association meetings like RISA meetings or IHOS meetings and be around stagers of all different experience levels. And then the new ones coming in, if you aren't hiring someone, you can still get that freshness from those people that come to the meetings. There's just ways to do things no matter where you are in your career and your company.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And so I know you used to have a radio show where you interview other real estate professionals. So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned through interviewing these people?
That one is a little tough question. I had my radio show for 6 years or 7 years, and I interviewed people from all walks of life, very successful real estate professionals, organizers. I even interviewed a person who they didn't do staging, but they walked through and did feng shui consultations for homes on the market. And I think the biggest thing I learned is all of those people had a deep commitment to their clients and to what they did. And so they all had passion. And they weren't afraid to express their passion. I think that's about the biggest thing I learned from them, is always believe in your passion and don't be afraid to express it.
I love that. And I concur, actually, because I used to have more time where I listened to a lot of podcasts, and because I used to drive a lot. I was living in California.
Yeah.
So I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I found that a lot of actually, it is a common thing with most successful people in their fields, is that they're really passionate and they really, really love it, and they really, really go after it. And now that I work in photography, I notice the same thing with photographers, because photography now is a very competitive market. In a lot of ways, it's very much like staging. It's very low entry to enter. Pretty much everyone has a really nice smartphone camera nowadays. People have access to a really great digital camera that can do a lot of different things for them. So you don't need as much technical skills as photographer used to have. Photographer used to be a very exclusive career because the gears could be very expensive. Unlike now, it's very accessible. So people run into similar issues with home stagers, and so like passion is really, really something that separates you from the competitors, because for example, in order to get good photos, people always sometimes like, oh my God, Cindy, these photos are amazing. But I'm kind of like, you're seeing 1 out of 100 that I throw away in the trash can. So it's like, if you talk to a lot of photographers, it's the same thing. There are people who sit in the same spot all day to wait for that perfect shot. And so similar with staging is that you have to really push your craft. You have to keep working to make sure that you are really at the top of your game.
I think also when I interviewed realtors, one of the things I admire about a very high-end successful realtor is that they have their standards and they don't compromise them. So when they work with clients, they'll let them know, this is based on my professional opinion. I've done an analysis of the price and what I think that you should list your house for. I think that you need to stage it in order to get top dollar. I think that you need to get a pre-inspection or whatever it is that's on their list. And they have that list of standards. And many of the most successful realtors don't work with clients that don't want to follow their advice and their standards because they know they're not going to be successful.
Yes, I completely agree. I think a really top professional is going to tell you. I think the best example for me is a friend of mine who is a Facebook ads consultant, and I hire her to do some Facebook ads. But because my schedule itself is already very crazy with my master's degree, and also teaching for our online school. So I don't really have a lot of time to develop the program for the ads as much as she wants. And she would be actually very candid with me. She would be like, Cindy, I'm really concerned because I know what I do works, but you're not delivering your end. So I know it's going to fail. So I cannot take on this project, for example. So I think it's the same way with stagers. I think in the beginning, it's going to be really hard to say no to clients, but at the same time, you still have to be professional and tell them that in order for us to do this project successfully, this is the minimum that you have to do to meet us. Then we can help you to get your house sold.
Exactly.
Especially in a situation where you're doing occupied staging. It's that if you do a consultation report, same thing. If that you tell the client these are the things that you have to do, like say you saw the foundation has a crack, and it's very obvious because the house is leaning, and then you're like, this is the bottom line you need to do to put your house on the market, and they didn't do it. Guess what? It's not going to sell. So
right.
We can only do so much for our clients. So a lot of times too, I think any successful professionals, real estate or not, they're really good at setting the expectations for the clients to let them know what the standard is. And so I love that you brought up that point because I think it's not really often thought about. But I find that in terms of client communication and successful rate of closing jobs, it's really important to set the client's expectations up front.
Yes.
And we always say to not over promise and then under deliver, right? Because you want to be under promise and over deliver. And that's the same thing. When you're setting that expectations, if you're over promising them, whatever you promise a client, you have to deliver because you are, for us that don't have a physical shop nowadays, our word is our business. So if you have a bad reputation as a stager in the marketplace, people are going to talk. Real estate can be a very small circle, so it can be very tricky.
That's very true. I don't think people realize what a small community the real estate community is. And
they all talk. Real estate people love to gossip. You know, they go to a lot of happy hours, especially agents, and then the mouth gets a little loose once they start chatting. So.
When the wine is flowing, the tongue is too.
Yeah, so you got to be careful about your reputation. That's why whatever job we do, if client has any grievances, our first objective is always try to make client happy in a very reasonable way. I mean, if the client's not being reasonable, then it's fine. But if client is being very reasonable, they're giving you feedback, I always apologize first and then try to make amends. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, you do want to make sure the client is walking away. I do think that if clients telling you something that they don't like and it has merits, you know, if they don't care about your business, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to let you fail. But I think if they give you feedback that you can work on, that is something that you need to work on.
That's very true. And I think one of my very first Yelp reviews was a client who was not happy, but I got a 5-star review from the client because we had a misunderstanding about timing, and so they thought I was going to be there at a particular time, and that wasn't the time that I thought I was supposed to be there. So there was a misunderstanding, but what I did was I gave them a discount on the consultation, and I did the consultation later, and I went out of my way to make them happy. And like I said, that was my very first 5-star review. It wasn't because everything went right. It was because when something went wrong, we took care of it.
Yeah. And then they are happy and they appreciate it because you fixed it like a real grown-up person would do. So I love that. That's a really good story. Personally, I'm terrified of Yelpers because they always be like, if you don't give me a good service, I'll write you a bad review. And I'm like, okay. I'm not going to purposely give you bad service. You know, like what professional person would do that?
I know.
Like, okay, you know, yes. So are there any major blunders that you've learned through your experience as a home stager or through interviewing other real estate professionals? And how can real estate agents or homeowners avoid these blunders when they're selling their houses?
Major blunders, I think for homeowners, the biggest blunders that I've seen are people that they watch HGTV and they listen to all the things about staging, and so they know they're supposed to declutter, And so they packed like everything out of their house. I had one client that packed everything that they owned, and then they went to Goodwill and they brought in some furniture from Goodwill, but one or two things because they thought that that's what they were supposed to do. So baseline, that was decluttering to the max. There's a balance there. I don't remember any specific blunders that I've done, and I know I've done a lot, but maybe I've just blocked them out, because I don't want to know about those anymore.
I agree with you. I just have this selective memory.
I think so. Realtors, I think some of the advice that I have for new realtors when they come to us, and I don't know if it's a blunder or a mistake or just people believing in people, they always ask me, who pays for staging? That's a big question with new realtors especially. And my advice to them is, if you decide that you want to pay for staging for a client, what I suggest is have the client pay up front and reimburse them at closing. And I do that because you just don't know what's going to happen with that listing. And it is a very emotional, and selling your house is really emotional. So you as a realtor, what if it's your first listing and you're doing everything you can for them, but for some reason they get mad at you and you lose the listing, and you've put $2,000 of your own, or $3,000 or however much of your own money into that listing, and you lose the listing. So I feel that one advice I have is to reimburse them at closing rather than put your own money up front. And that way you can stay competitive with other realtors that have been in the business longer that are paying for their client staging. I think another mistake that I've seen in newer realtors is letting their clients push them into pricing or other things that they know isn't really right, but they're afraid to lose the listing, so they let the client push them into doing something that isn't really the best. I think for me, I don't know of any blunders. I can think of a few weird things that have lots of weird things that have happened. I think we could do a whole show on weird things that have happened to your staged homes or in your staged homes.
Oh my God, I love that. That would be totally great, actually. I would love to do a follow-up show on that.
Oh, we should.
But one of the things I really love that you just said is about real estate agents, because I think you, as a stager too, you come across agents, and they have a real fear of trust. It's because they themselves have been burned by their clients, and they're not recuperating the cost of doing business for the listing. And I think one of the things for stagers is to understand where are some of the pains that real estate agents have. And because I've seen the kind of the after effect of that is that they're like, well, I mean, like for agents to pay for staging itself, it depends. I mean, it really has to come down with their business model. But most of the time, real estate agents are out of pockets with marketing costs if the seller decide not to list the house with them anymore. Smarter agents put that in their contract, saying that if the house didn't sell for whatever reason, or the seller wishes to cancel the contract, they have to reimburse them for the marketing cost. So I think it's really, really important for stagers to understand how real estate agents make money, because one of the things that will really motivate them to be on board with staging is that stage homes normally sell faster. Not only that, they also sell for more money compared to homes that are not staged. And so it's a really good motivator for them to look good for their current and future clients. Because having great stats as well is really good for real estate agents.
It is, and it's also important, I think, for stagers to understand the selling process. When I hire a new designer, we have I used to actually teach a certification class for stagers with the Home Staging Academy. And so I'll sit with my stagers when they come in and teach them about the real estate process. I can tell you when I first started, staging as an investor, I was always told, don't list your house, don't pay full commission, all kinds of stuff. But as I've been staging and I've partnered with multiple, I don't even know how many realtors I partner with, I have a real appreciation and respect for the work that the realtors do. And in the ones that we work with, our realtors go above and beyond the expectations of the clients. And as a stager, it's important to realize that the realtors need your help, and they need you to partner with them, and they need your support. And they work really hard for their money. They really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was also a misconception about how easy it is for real estate agents to make money. It's not actually. The 80-20 rule applies pretty much the same. 80% of agents are only doing 20% of business. And so that is very competitive if you think about it. That's why also most new agents don't renew their real estate license after 4 years when it comes up for renewal. It's because they can't make it in real estate industry. It takes real hard work and dedication and passion to be a successful real estate agent, and especially at a top producer level.
It does. And I think it's important when you're meeting with a new realtor to talk to them about what are their expectations, what types of homes do they list. So then you can understand and let them know that you do understand that your inventory and your style is going to complement the types of homes that they list. And if, for example, at Staging for Charisma, we really excel in contemporary and transitional, more modern staging. That's what we do. If somebody needs something very traditional with heavy antique type furniture, and then I'll refer that business to another staging company that does that, because it's not what we do. And so I want to make sure that I understand the style of the realtor and the type of homes that they list as we start to build our partnership. And then they trust me. They know that I understand what they're going to need and that I have the inventory, and I keep my inventory fresh so that they know we're always going to have some leading edge pieces that are going to pop and appeal to their clients, their buyers.
Yeah. And so I want to switch gear a little bit and talk about inventory, because you have such a big business with 4 designers and a lot of inventory, I'm assuming. So one of the biggest things for doing vacant home projects is the inventory. I mean, even for Occupy, some people do stock a little bit inventory. So can you talk about your process about buying inventory? Like, what kind of inventory do you buy? How do you determine what to buy, where to buy, and how much to spend on your inventory?
Well, like any small business owner, I want to keep my costs down. So I look for inventory that I can get that's going to look really good, fit my style, and that I can get at lowest price. Larger pieces, sofas, headboards, actually art too. I think art is one of the biggest investments that I make. I look for places that I can buy wholesale. I look for places where I can get designer discounts. And in the past 2 years, I've started going to furniture markets. I just go to Vegas because in Seattle, Vegas is easy, and look to see what are the new trends that are coming up. And then I look for pieces that I know I'm going to be able to use over and over again. And when I first started, my policy, and I still am kind of like this, was I didn't buy anything that I didn't have a house to put it into. I didn't go out and just buy 10 couches because I might need to use them. I bought one. And then if that one worked well, and if it was a neutral piece that I felt I could use for 5 to 7 years, and I got enough business, then I'd buy more. But I don't go out and buy a ton of stuff. Even today, when I see something new, a new piece, and I think that's really going to fit with the style of the type of staging that we do, I think I'll be able to use that for 2 to 5 years. I buy one, and I see how it fits with everything else that we have. And if we get excited about it and it works well, then I'll buy the 5 or 6 more. But I do buy wholesale.
That's awesome. That's a really great tip. Is I think also the other thing with buying wholesale, what people don't realize is, yes, the individual unit price is cheaper, but you also have to buy multiple of them. And so if it doesn't work, you're stuck with 6 or 12 of them in your warehouse.
Right. And then you have to try to sell them. And once you buy that piece, whether it's been put into a house or not, it's used furniture. So if you decide that you want to sell it, you can, but you may not be able to sell it for what you paid for it, or you may, I know that some stagers do buy inventory wholesale, and part of their business model is to sell. That's not ours. And I think they can mark them up, but it's still not, in my opinion, it's not a big profit stream.
Yeah, I think it depends on the individual's business model. If you're really good at selling furniture or accessories out of your warehouse, by all means do it. But it is something you also have to try, because it is like running a whole new business in itself. You also have to market those inventory. I can speak on that because we liquidated our warehouse, 6,000 square foot warehouse last summer, and it was painful. It's not as easy as you think, even when you're giving a huge discount on furniture. It just, people can be flaky about showing up. People can be picky. So it's, I have this one guy who was in the warehouse for an hour and a half, and finally it took him an hour and a half, and he tried 4 different ottomans, and finally he bought an ottoman for $20 for an hour and a half.
Yeah. And I think if you decide that you want to own your own inventory, I think it's really important from the get-go to have some way to keep track of what you own, because for one thing, you want to know where your stuff is. And another thing, if you ever do decide that you want to sell your business or you liquidate as you did, it's important for you to know what did you pay for that to begin with? How many times have you used it? If you were to sell it, what would you sell it for? It's just, and that's hard to keep track of.
No, I totally agree with that. Because that came up actually in our warehouse sale, is that it would have been really useful to know what would be the bottom line for us to get ROI on this particular piece. Because like you said, it would be really helpful to not only know how much we bought it from, those records we have. So we were able to come up with sales price instead of just like pulling number out of a hat. But it would have been really helpful to know how many times this has been rented out. So if we have to negotiate pricing, which happens when you're selling furniture out of your warehouse instead of a retail store, is that people are going to negotiate. And then so it would have been really helpful to know where your bottom line can be, other than just going off the wholesale pricing. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is actually something people don't really think about.
And I honestly don't, we do have an inventory system that we developed in-house and we now offer to other stagers. But we don't keep track as much of how many times the piece has been used. We keep track of the age, like we purchased it, the purchase date. And we also use it to know, for example, if a home gets hit, stolen, if we get a home that's robbed. And in the Seattle area, well, I think any area, you're going to run into it, unfortunately, because of the way things are. Mm-hmm. And when I need to pull something for a police report, I've got an easy way to look and say what I paid for it. I know if the piece is however many years old or if it's new. And if I have a wholesale price, I also track what the retail price of that piece would be. So if I pay $200 for a couch wholesale, that piece may retail for $1,000. And so I need to keep track of that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think one of the things that people don't realize is that there are risks in our business as well as liabilities. I've heard so many stories where stagers prep and fill the truck with all the inventory for a job next day, and then the truck got stolen or it got into an accident, the inventory were damaged. So in those scenarios, you have to contact your insurance company for compensation. And the first thing they're going to ask you is, what are the inventory that got damaged and how much did they cost? They're going to want to see receipts. They're going to want to see what's the depreciation on that value is. And all that stuff. And if you don't have really good paperwork or really good record, it's going to be difficult for you to file a claim and figure out the true value of how much you can claim for.
Yeah. We actually had only once in the 10 years I've been in business, but we had a house burned down.
Oh my
and
God.
So we lost everything. And first of all, we have after pictures, which your insurance company is going to want. So we have, in addition to our inventory system, and in our inventory system, we upload the after pictures of the house. So every home that we stage, we have what inventory is in the home, we have the client, all the information about that particular project, and then we also have after pictures. So we don't just have a list of the inventory, we have pictures. And that we could provide to the insurance company and we provided it to the fire department because it was arson. So it was just amazing to have the information at my fingertips and not have to scramble. And I used to use spreadsheets. So I'll tell you, it was hard to pry me out of my spreadsheets because I was used to it. And like anybody, I don't like to change. I went from spreadsheets to another inventory system that a lot of stagers have used. It didn't really do what I needed it to do because I wanted workflow as well as inventory. And so now I have something that works really well for not just tracking my inventory, but also tracking my jobs, which stagers are working on the jobs. Just pretty much everything I need for my business at my fingertips.
That is amazing. That sounds like an incredible system. So how long did it take you to develop it in-house?
It took us, I would say, I'm very lucky because I have a very technical family. My nephew and my sister are database developers, so they worked with me to create the system that we have. And it took us, I'd say, 3 to 6 months to get the first version out. But we've had it now for 5 years. So we've had several versions and we've updated it. It's the best thing about it. And I think the thing that most of our users like about it is that it's all something that you can do on your phone. And so it's all mobile. At any time, I could look at my phone right now and tell you how many houses I have staged, what inventory's out, how many couches I own. It's just right there. So
oh my God, that sounds amazing.
It's really something. And it was developed for my business model, but I think most stagers, our business models don't differ that much. So I think it'll work for anyone.
That is actually my dream, like when I used to have really wanted to have a really big team, like that was my dream, to have people to be able to just access their inventory online. And then so we tried spreadsheets, we tried so many different things. And then it turned out that we didn't actually pursue it because for us, me and my sister kind of figured out we actually hate running big teams. So we made a really conscious choice to have a very small, lean business model. And so we just was like, forget inventory system because the only people who are growing inventory are both of us anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But for somebody that your size or somebody who's growing into having a team, I think that is really important because it's really important to keep track, like all the reasons we just talked about, for not only for the front end, but also the back end, the liability and all that stuff. And also to be able to see how many houses you have staged, to be able to anticipate. Because I think once you're in business for a while, you can kind of anticipate your volume. That's the other thing too, is that you have to plan out your inventory, like kind of anticipating how many more couches, for example, you need for the next month kind of thing. Do you do any type of forecasting for your own inventory?
I don't. I know I'm going to be staging 8 to 10 homes a week, prime time. And what we do, my manager and I sit down on Friday and look at the coming week. And then we look at the inventory that we have, and we look at the inventory that's going to be coming back, and we start matching it to houses. Mm-hmm. And because we can do it all online, we do it either we go to lunch, we go to happy hour or whatever, take our laptops, and we plan out the week. And then we look and say, okay, we have this house is coming back. We can pretty much put everything in this house into this house. And so we can do a D-stage stage, which for most stagers is like, okay, that's your dream because you don't have to pack it, unpack it, repack it, unpack it. So it's your most efficient way to stage. That we can transfer the inventory easily from one house to the other in the system. And then we can look at the styles of the homes that are coming back and say, okay, most of our stages next week are going to be really, really modern. We only have one really, really modern house coming back. I've only got 3 or 4 or whatever I've got in the warehouse I'm going to have to buy. And so we do all that planning the week before.
That's amazing. And how often do you buy?
That, in the way we work today, I would say every 3 months or so. Okay. But you're constantly buying. I don't buy much in fourth quarter because we're slow, and first quarter I don't buy a whole lot of stuff because you're in that build up for the year phase, and you have a lot of inventory. In most cases, you've got inventory that's coming back. But towards the end of first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, I do quite a bit of buying. I don't like. I think new stagers don't realize how much your stuff gets beat up.
Yeah.
Moving furniture is really hard. Moving art, it's really hard on the pieces. And so if you've had a couch that it's still a really neutral piece that you could use anywhere, but you've used it in 300 homes, that couch is beat. You need to replace it. And we really try to keep our inventory looking fresh and as new as possible.
That is amazing. So just curious, how big is your warehouse?
I only have a 5,000 square foot warehouse, which for our volume, it's pretty small. Mm-hmm. But because we have so many houses staged at a time, it works fine for us. Like right now I have, it's slow. Right now I have 32 homes staged.
Did you just look at your phone? I was just curious.
I did, yeah.
Oh my God, 32 homes. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's January right now, so that's good.
Right. And like I said, it's slow right now. At our peak, we'll have 50 to 55 homes staged. 55 is about the maximum number of homes we've had staged at a time. Last year, we staged 291 homes. Wow. And the year before that, we staged 304. But last year, the number of homes was a little less, but we actually grossed higher because we're staging higher end and larger homes. So where in 2016, our average home was about 2,200, maybe 2,500 square feet and we do a lot of 900 square feet condos. Last year, we staged more homes that were 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. So we charge more and more inventory goes into the home.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And so do you know by chance how many couches do you own? I'm just really curious.
How many houses?
How many couches? How many
couches do I own? That's a little harder to get really fast because
I was just curious.
I can give you a swag. I actually have one of the things that we do we can export to Excel out of our system. And I think I own about, that will take a little long. Again.
Okay, never mind.
Sorry.
I was just wondering. I just so fascinated. I can't believe your warehouse size is 5,000. It sounds amazing. Because I know stagers who do similar volume and their warehouse is about 18,000 square feet.
I know, and that's why I said ours is actually pretty small, our warehouses, because, here it is. I own around 102 couches.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm just amazed by your system, just by hearing about it. Yeah, and I think that's really great. That's really great though, to have a smaller warehouse, even when you have such a big volume, because 18,000 square feet is a lot to maintain. And from our conversations, it's a headache, and they don't even track it. And so it's insane to me. But I mean, for them, that size of warehouse has obviously a huge amount of inventory, and for them it's really difficult to be able to put in the system. And it sounds like you pretty much has been building the system as you go, it's incredibly smart to do. I'm just so in awe by our conversation today.
I thank you.
And how do you maintain all your inventory, and how much maintenance do you do? And let's say when a couch is super beat up, what do you do with it? Can you talk a little bit about your process?
So if we decide that a piece is pretty much end of life, the first thing we do is we put it on Craigslist or OfferUp and see if we can sell it, and we discount it. We did a lot of selling last year. I think we sold couches for average about $150 a piece. Mm-hmm. And we'd take less. And then if we have it on OfferUp or Craigslist for more than a month, then we donate it to either the Goodwill or to one of the local charities where they take care of primarily homeless women. So that's what we do with end of life. My team, I always tell people that the staging business is kind of like the tide, especially since I'm a boater, so I'm into the tides. So sometimes it's high tide, you have a lot of stuff in. Sometimes it's low tide, you have absolutely nothing in. And sometimes you're like a neutral tide where you're just balanced and things are coming and going pretty equal to what you need. So if we're at a spot in the business where it's kind of high tide, meaning we have a lot of stuff in and it's a little bit slow, I want to keep my guys working. I want to keep my people employed, and I don't want to lose people. Most of my people have been with me for at least 3 years, which, since it's, movers, it's not exactly an industry where you have a lot of room for growth. So I want to keep them employed. And so then we give them jobs on. One of my guys also has a carpet cleaning business on the side, so I'll pay him to come in and shampoo all my area rugs and clean our upholstery for the light upholstery. If something's broken, part of my team's job is to repair it. If it can't be repaired, then we do a garbage run or we take it to the Goodwill and donate, whatever. And that's what we do for maintenance. My team is also really, really good at cleaning when this home is staged. So once we put something into a home, part of their job is to dust and to use the furniture pens to color any scratches. It's just part of the staging process. So we try to do maintenance as we need to.
That is absolutely amazing. And how many movers do you have? Do you have in-house movers, or they are third-party movers?
I have 4, and they're in-house.
And how did you find these incredible people?
That's really hard.
Yeah, movers are so hard.
It is hard. I advertised initially when I first started hiring people. It was more word of mouth and so-and-so's son or, Susie's nephew, people that were recommended to me. And as those people have left, I advertise on Craigslist for movers. And then now I actually have 3 brothers that work for me, and then another guy, the guy that's the carpet cleaner. So when something happened, the one guy said, "Hey, I have a brother." I said, "Okay." so that's how I found him. And I know one of the other stagers in the area, they use college kids. I did have a couple of college guys, but the challenge with that is that we start at 8 and we usually finish, between 3 and 5 on any day. Well, if you're going to college, it's really hard for you to meet that type of a schedule, and we don't work on weekends. So I've had to find people that I could hire full time, and it's just advertising. When I hire someone, I always do a background check. I learned that the hard way because these people, they're going into people's homes, and you have to have people that you can trust. And I've never had anybody that works for me do anything that was a problem. It's just I had to let someone go. First, if I'd have done a background check and a drug test, I would have known that ahead of time. And instead, I had him work for me for a little while and went, whoop, that's a problem. That guy's got to go.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I know that can be easy. We had our own hiring issue. I mean, that could be a whole show onto its own, but yeah, hiring in general can be very tricky, and so you really have to be paying attention to who you're inviting into your business, especially if they're going to learn the in and out of your business very, very quickly. We have a really quick audience question in terms of inventory. So did you start out by owning your own inventory, or did you rent first?
I've always owned my own inventory. I think I shared with you, Cindy, my very, very first staging job. I went to IKEA. This was way back in the day. I went to IKEA one day, and then the next day I rented a truck. I loaded all the IKEA nothing was put together, furniture. And then on the way to the stage, I stopped at Fred Meyer's, which is a local retail store, and bought a couch on my way to the stage. So I've always owned my own. I've tried to rent a couple of times. It didn't work well for me with the volume that we do.
Yeah, same for me. I found rental companies tricky to deal with. You basically, maybe if I'm a little bit of a control freak, but you're basically at their disposal. They have their schedule to keep, their delivery schedule. They have their own rental policies, and their pricing are also higher. We're able to offer more competitive pricing when we have inventory in-house. And I worked with a rental company where their billing system was a mess. So instead of billing me, they sent bills to my client, even though I'm paying for it. My client got really upset.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that I did not like working with a rental company, and it just did not happen for me. And like you, I first started with IKEA furniture. I was very nerve-wracked about it. I mean, I bought IKEA and also a local company, like a local furniture company who just opened, actually, so they gave me a really good discount because they want to work with stagers. But yeah, that's how I started building my inventory as well. And like you, I was very conservative with my money. I did not want to get into debt before I have a business. So I only bought my inventory once I got paid a deposit. Once I got the check, immediately I cash it and I go shopping.
Yeah, we did. When I first started, we required a 50% down, and that's the money that I would use to buy the inventory. I did have a credit card, and I put inventory on my credit card when I needed to, but I never had long-term debt. I don't to this day. When I needed a new truck, I paid cash for the truck. I just feel that it's important to try to stay solvent as a small business.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so what does your overall workflow look like for your staging projects?
So when a call comes in, because that's the beginning of your workflow, you get a call from a client. The first thing that happens is whether it comes to an individual or it goes to my office and my admin takes the call, the information is entered into our system, and it's entered as the name, the phone number, the email address, any information that we know about the property, their estimated date of staging, and any, just basic information. And then the next thing that happens is that client is assigned to a designer, since I have multiple designers, and we schedule a time for the designer to go out and meet with the client and preview the home. We do have some questions that we ask on the upfront call to qualify the client, because if that person, for example, we have a $1,700 minimum, and if we talk to a client and we state that and they go, oh, well, that's way more than I want to spend, then we know that it's not going to be a productive use of time for us to go out and work with, to go out to the house, because it's just not going to happen, and we don't want to waste their time either. Once then the designer goes out to the home and they put together a proposal, and in our system we have different statuses for each project. Mm-hmm. So the first status is new. It's a new home that hasn't been assigned. And then it's changed to a status of assigned. We put the designer's name, whoever we assign that project to, in the system. And then they put in the date that they're going to meet with the client, so that at any time I can look and see what's going on and make sure nothing's falling through the cracks. Once they've looked at the home and they prepare the proposal, they send it to either me or my manager, and we approve it. We approve everything before it goes to the client. And once it's approved, they send it to the client, and we change the status to proposal sent. We have them wait 2 to 3 days. If we don't hear back, then they send a follow-up email to the client to see if they have any questions. Once the client's accepted the proposal, we change the status to accepted, and that sends a note to my office manager to prepare a contract for the client. The office manager gets the information for the contract from the staging assistant, which is our system. And once the contract is sent, and signed, we change the status to scheduled, and the designer goes in and does a preliminary design for the home using the staging assistant. So that's the time when they actually assign furniture to each room and put whatever notes that they need. For example, if the room is painted pink and the client's not going to change the color, they put a note under that room that the bedroom's going to be pink, so use neutral bedding. And that way, if something happens, say that stager gets sick and they can't come in on the day that we're staging the home, we have the information we need to stage the home without her. So we're very, our system allows us to be very flexible, and it takes away the dependency on one person, which, when you're in your business by yourself, if you're sick, it's too bad.
Yeah.
Let's just get over it.
I know. That's the downfall of having a very lean business system, is that, say something, or because, for example, we had a death in the family, and both of me and my sister had to go to a funeral. So then we have to basically close the business down for 2 weeks while we're out of town, kind of thing.
Right.
And so luckily, I don't know if luckily is a good word, but luckily it happened during down season, in January. So not really a lot of business was impacted really. So we were just able to push back everything. But that sounds like an amazing advantage of having a system like this. And so I know for your inventory system, it's available to the public now for our stagers. So your workflow system is as well?
It's all one system.
Okay.
It's all the same system.
Absolutely incredible. And we actually have audience asking already, what is your name? What's the name of your system? And what's the website that I can direct them to?
It's called Staging Assistant, and you can find it at stagingassistant.com. Okay. I don't know. I can send you the link, Cindy.
So I just put in the chat box. It's stagingassistant.com, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. I'll put that in the show notes as well, you guys, if you're listening on iTunes right now. So you can take advantage of Pam's system that she's basically been testing for 5 years through probably, 1,500 staging projects?
Yes.
Yeah, and 4 to 6 different designers. So it's absolutely incredible. I just am so in awe. And I love your workflow system because personally, I'm a huge fan. I use Trello, I use 17 Hats, I use Asana as well. with different, but it sounds like you have everything under one roof with your system. So I think that is absolutely incredible.
We do, but what we don't do is billing from the system. I use QuickBooks for billing, but I pull the information. I actually taught my bookkeeper how to pull the information from the system and use it to create the invoicing in QuickBooks. So it's not the only tool that you'll need, because you do need billing, and you need to have something for payroll. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it pretty much does everything we need. And what we do is we favorite every one of our homes that we stage. Once it's listed, we favorite it on Redfin. Mm-hmm. And then we get an email from Redfin when that house is pending, so that we also put that information into the staging assistant, so that's how we can track our statistics. We send an email to the client once the home's pending and let them know that we know it's pending and congratulate them on the sale and ask them for a closing date. We put that as an estimated D-stage date in the system, and it's really, really helped us to avoid the last-minute emergency I forgot to tell you, you need to destage the house for closing tomorrow calls.
I love that, because I hear stagers complain about clients all the time, but I'm also kind of like, you are a business owner. There are things that you can put in to prevent these things from happening. And I think the Redfin notification is the amazing idea, because we did that in our business as well. And then so the client will be like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that, we need to destage on so-and-so date. The last thing you want is a client call you in a panic and you're like, nope, sorry, we have a 3-day notice. So or you had to pay us $500 because you had to book a mover at the last minute.
Yeah,
while it's good that you're sticking to your professional policy, but at the same time, it's also on the client's end, they don't feel very good about it.
Right, and this gives us the tools to know when we need to communicate and to know when we did communicate with them. It's not, it just really is helpful, and it makes you look really professional, and your realtors really appreciate you being proactive instead of waiting for them to tell you.
I agree with that with so much, because one of the things that I found working with new stagers on their business is that one of the things new stagers don't realize is that as a business owner, it is also your job to prevent these kind of scenarios from happening. So you have to learn how to nip them in the bud as soon as possible. And that's why I think it's amazing that you're coding and you are putting system in place with follow-ups. And I think it's absolutely incredible tool.
It's our blood. I don't think I could do what we do without it, and I know I couldn't. Spreadsheets aren't going to cut it. Other systems, I've tried them, but since we developed this specifically based on our business model, it's just what we need. It's everything we need. So.
Yeah. And then I have a quick question. There's a quick audience question about pricing. So do you offer a flat staging fee, or do you separate your staging service plus furniture and accessories?
I offer a flat staging fee for the first 30 days. So the way that we do our pricing is the initial fee covers the design, the delivery, the setup, the D-stage for our regular clients and for investors.
That is absolutely amazing.
And the only other thing that we charge on top of that is, unfortunately, the state of Washington now requires sales tax on pretty much everything, and our sales tax is 10% most of the time, so that's not good.
Yeah, I think the clients do bulk of the sales tax, but it is the law, unfortunately. And it's actually more paperwork for us, so we don't like charging it either.
No.
Yeah. No, but I really like your pricing system. We actually did the same in our business. It's other than the investor part, we just do a 30-day package because I think it's much cleaner. Most homes sell within 30 days in our market, and sounds like it is in yours as well.
Yeah, most of the time. And I'm pretty flexible is because most of my clients are repeat clients. So if the realtor calls and says, hey, the appraisal didn't come in and rent's due tomorrow, I'll just say, that's fine. Don't worry about it. If your appraisal comes in, as long as we can destage within a week, then I'm not going to charge anything additional. But if it's like 2 weeks or more, then I will charge the full month's rental. And in my contract says that I don't prorate the rent. It's just a pain to prorate. But if somebody calls me and they're a long-term client and they say, hey, I don't know what we're going to do, but would you mind prorating? Then sometimes I will. And that's the advantage of owning your own business. You get to make the rules, but be careful what you do, because once you do it, you set a precedent.
Yes, I agree with that. And so when you do that, does the client keep coming back and be like, hey, you gave us that grace period last time. Can you do it again?
No, I haven't had that happen.
Oh, good.
I haven't, that's why I said be careful, because it could. But no, my clients I love my clients. I work with the best people, and they're very conscious that I have costs too. And I think it's because that's how I treat them. I understand that staging is an investment for them, and many of my realtors pay for staging. And so I want to make sure that I'm the stager they want to work with, because they know I understand them and I care about them.
That's great. I love that. I think also, like, a lot of times a successful business owner is really good at maintaining their clients as well, because if you build out a relationship, it's much cheaper to have a repeat client than going out and acquiring new clients. Yes. And I think a lot of times newer business owners and stagers I've seen, they made that mistake thinking that they have to keep going out, churning up business, but they forgot they actually already have people in their pocket that know what they do and are fans of them, but they forgot about them, so the leads go from hot to warm and into cold. And so I think it's really important to keep a really great relationship with a repeat client.
It is. Like I said, I still work today with my very first client the one I stopped at Fred Meyer's and bought the couch for. I still work with him today, but then he was flipping homes that were like 100 to 200,000. Today, that man owns an investment company. He has 7 or 8 different investors that work under him, and he flips homes that are in the millions. So that relationship alone has helped me to build my business. It's just...
I think that's a really good point. And that's the thing. I think most new stagers is like, when they get out of the gate, they're like, I want to work with top producer in my market. But the thing is that you are not at the top stager level. So it's unrealistic to expect that top producer is going to give you their time and then let you try on their new client, basically. And so I think you're a perfect example where you came up the marketplace with your very first client. So he went from a small investor to become this huge investor with a team of investors working under him, and they're flipping probably like hundreds of millions of dollars of homes a year. And same thing with you. You go from, buying IKEA furniture, and now you have 300 house stage every single year. And you guys have both becoming the top people in your market.
Yeah, you just, like I said, I didn't start out to be what we are today. However, a few years ago, I was tired, and I didn't know if I wanted to keep doing my business because I was overwhelmed. And that's when I had to make a hard decision of, am I going to add people and grow, or am I going to turn away business, which I didn't want to do, or am I going to just get out of the business because I'm too tired? Well, my choice was to add people and grow, and to do that, I had to have an inventory system. I just had to, because you can't keep track of things when you have multiple people working for you if you don't have some way to something. You have to have something. So
yeah, no, I totally agree with that, because when you have multiple people pulling inventory, it's very chaotic. And then so an inventory system, it's really important to keep everybody on track and on the same page. So it's not like, hey, I thought I have that beige couch reserved and then for this job, and then you show up for prep day and then you realize somebody else already took it. So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make you happy.
No.
It makes it a challenge.
And so in your opinion, what attributed to your success as a home stager?
I think, first of all, I knew my market, and my market was, I built my business primarily working with investors, and I made sure that what I did worked for them, that I was able to respond to their requirements, because investors, they might call me, I might have them call me today and say, can you stage a home tomorrow? So I really focused on my target market. I am flexible. I'm willing to work with people. I provide a quality product. If somebody isn't happy with our staging, then, which happens occasionally, as I said, I'll work with them to understand what their concerns are. And I don't always change it. What I do is let them know why we chose the inventory that we chose. I also get out into our market area and speak. I'm a certified real estate instructor in the state of Washington, so I can teach clock hour classes. I write for different newsletters in the area, so I get myself out there. I'm well known in my market, and I think that's what has really enabled us to achieve the success that we have.
I think that is absolutely amazing and great advice. I have Fred Burns last week when I interviewed him. He's an interior design and now staging coach. And he said the same thing. Speaking and getting yourself out there is the best way for you to get clients. You just never know what's going to come through the door. And he also shares stories where he recommends clients to speak. And he went to the first speaking engagement of this client where this client totally botched it up. And it was just like, he was just sitting there thinking, oh my God, like, what did I put this poor woman through? And then she got a job through that speaking engagement. So, like a lot of times I think we do kind of have that voice in our head. It's like, oh my God, it's so awkward. Like, do I really want to do this? But I have to agree, like speaking is really, really one of the best way to build clientele. And you just never know. Because I think once you're out there, people see your face or hear your voice, they feel like they know you and they can approach you. And they trust you because you spoke and you show your expertise.
Yeah. So I don't know, do we have any other questions today or anything that we wanted to summarize or accent? Yeah, I usually have a last minute question, but before we go there, I don't see any new questions from the audience, but I do want to ask you where can people find your system? I know we mentioned it online now, and do you want to talk about staging assistant really quick? Because I know it is a workflow management and inventory system, and we talk about it in the show as well, but do you want to give us a quick introduction as well about your system? Yes, if you go to stagingassistant.com, there's a demo, and you can learn a little bit more about it from the demo and what the features are. And then if you go to contact us on the stagingassistant.com, you can get a 2-week free trial. And for anybody that's on the webinar today, if you put in on the message that you were on the webinar, I'll give you 30 days free trial. And so you can just try it out and see if it works for you. What I really like for people to do is if once you have your 2-week free trial, give me a call or send me an email, and we'll set up a one-on-one training session with you. And it's a half an hour, and I'll walk you through the basics of how to use the system so that you can understand it. And if it works for you, that's fabulous. And if it doesn't, you've given it a shot, and that's, we just like staging, there isn't one size fits all. But I use it and it works for me.
That's great. That's incredibly generous of you. I really appreciate it, offering to our listeners and whoever come up on the webinar today. And I think it just sounds like an incredible system. Like at least for me, that just sounds like exactly my dream. I'm a huge fan of having systems. Most of my students know this because I push for it in our courses. I really do believe efficiency and automate as much of your process as possible. And I am all for, I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. My sister can tell you that. She's my tech support. I'm like, the printer doesn't work. She's like, did you try to turn it off and turn it back on? Kind of thing. But the thing is that I think we really need to learn how to leverage technology to get time back, because time is the only resource we cannot pay for. Once it's gone, it's forever gone. And so it's really important for us to increase efficiency in our business and decrease the cost of doing business. And having an inventory system like this and a workflow system like this just sounds absolutely incredible to me. I wish you were around when I was a stager. That would have been so helpful when we're going through liquidation for our warehouse. Oh my gosh.
It's really a godsend for us. So great. I really appreciate your time today, Cindy. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no, I really love it. And I'm just curious, do you ever miss doing radio? Because one of the things I love the most about doing podcasts is meeting people like you and just sharing really interesting tidbits about and sharing their passion as well.
I do miss doing radio. I love talking to people. And the other thing that I've thought about doing is doing some coaching, because one of the things I love to do is helping people get started. And I think that with radio, I used to have people contact me all the time and ask me questions, and I did a little bit of coaching, and I really do miss that. I love talking. Can you tell?
No, but you should. I think you will be an incredible real estate coach, especially for stagers, because you have a wealth of information, and you have staged thousands, if not tens of thousands, actually, homes. And you probably have a lot of stories to share and just a lot of insights. I mean, I learned so much from our talk, and it's just absolutely incredible. And so our show is coming up to the end, and I just have a last 2-part question for you. So what is the one top tip you'll give to stagers who are just starting out in the business?
The top tip, be patient and don't get discouraged, and seek out other stagers in your market. A lot of times when you're new, you have to find the right stagers, but I can tell you most of the people in the staging industry are very, very supportive of new people, and they're very open and sharing, and it's good for you to find someone in the industry to help you and bounce ideas off it for you. And I think that's the most important thing I could tell somebody getting started is find a mentor or a coach or even a friend that's been in staging in your area and get support.
Yeah, no, that's a really good advice. Especially meeting other stagers who are also new, because you guys can partner up or help each other. I mean, it's actually a really nice way to build community. And how about someone who started for a while, like a couple years in, and is in the process of growing their business? Do you have any tips for them?
If you've been in the business for a while and you want to grow your business, the first thing is, I think it's important, especially this time of year, to sit down and envision what it is that you want your business to look like by the end of the year. I'm a very strong proponent of envisioning what you want, and then you will realize it. And then once you've envisioned what you want your business to look like, start thinking about what tools or steps that you can take to work towards that vision. And then again, too, I would say seek out someone who's done it. Talk to people who are bigger than you are. because I do that. And I thought I was pretty big stuff until I started meeting some other staging companies who were bigger. And I learned from them every day. So that's my advice. Always envision what you want. Be clear about your vision. Give yourself some actionable steps to achieve it. And then work with people who have done what you want to do.
That is absolutely amazing. Pam, you're so amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad we got reconnected, and I'm just so happy to hear all the success you have. Because we know each other for years, and I think this is the longest conversation we ever had.
I think it is.
We always shame.
I know. Well, maybe I should come to Paris.
You totally should. Oh my God. I would totally love it if you're here.
That would be a blast.
But not now, because the weather is horrible. Come when the weather is beautiful, and yeah, totally. I would love that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Cindy. I hope this was valuable for your listeners. And if anybody has questions, they can always contact me at pam@staging4charisma.com. You can check out our Facebook page or go to the Staging Assistant. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
That is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. I think everybody probably have learned a lot through these conversations. Thank you again.
Thanks, Cindy.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you everyone for being on the call. I really, really appreciate it. So that's it for the show. Thank you so much for listening. You want to help and support the show? There are 3 ways to do so. You can leave a review and rating on iTunes. You can share the show on social media, or you can donate to support the hosting costs for the website and the podcast. You can now make a donation through the show notes on the sidebar of our website. So thanks so much again for listening. Have a wonderful week and happy staging. And don't forget to check out our show sponsor. Our show is brought to you by the Staging Assistant. It's more than an inventory system. Manage your leads, your proposals, your clients, and your stage houses on your desktop, tablet, or phone. With the Staging Assistant, you will know what you own, where it is, and when it's returning quickly and easily. Create your design and packing list from the comfort of your home so you can hit the ground running when you go into your warehouse. Created by stagers, specifically for stagers, is the only tool you need to manage your growing staging business. For more information, visit stagingassistant.com.